Hello, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us for another exciting edition of 2 Week Too Strong. We are delighted to see a large number of our students, affiliates, and members joining us on a Saturday morning. This shows your commitment to learning and development. We are really thankful to you for joining us. And we are so privileged that today we are not just joined by one business leader, but by two business leaders and one exciting ACCA member. So we have with us Asim Siddiqui, who is the country managing director at EY for Growth, as well as Zaid Khan, who is the senior executive director at EY, and he's also an ACCA member. And with them, we have our very own Taimur Behram Khan, FCCA, who is an ACCA member as well as the staff member of ACCA. Today's agenda is to discuss how to make Big Four partner. They'll share exciting tips on how you can reach the top when you are in a Big Four firm. But before actually we begin the session, let me give a brief overview of Asim Siddiqui. Asim is the country managing partner at EY for Growth. EY's member firm in Pakistan. He's based out of the firm's Karachi head office. Asim's career spans 30 years, and with almost 3/4 of it in consulting and transaction advisory. Prior to his current role, Asim led the transaction advisory services team in Pakistan. Asim has served as a member of the executive board of the firm since 2011, with almost 1,400 personnel that he managed. So you can get so many insights from him. There is simply no doubt. Asim's focus has been on bringing EY's premium services to clients in Pakistan by investing in the development of a talent pool with diverse background and high potential for growth. In addition to transaction advisory, Asim has played a key role in setting up the risk advisory and infrastructure advisory services, which is part of strategy and transaction services in Pakistan office. He has been involved in most of the major merger and acquisition transactions in past 10 to 15 years in Pakistan in one way or another. He's passionate about working with government and private sector across various verticals, particularly in energy, transport, and telecom. He's particularly proud of EY's role in the development of public-private partnerships in Pakistan. Asim qualified as a professional accountant in 1993, which is almost 27 years ago. And it's so hard to believe because if you look at his energy and his highly animated personality, we doubt he's so old. But we are really thankful to you, Asim, for joining us today. And
Thank you very
with him,
much.
likewise. And with him, we have Zaid Khan, another very young business leader from a Big Four firm. He's the Senior Director, Accounting and Compliance and Reporting at EY. He became an ACCA, fellow ACCA member in 2007. And he has an exciting career journey. Before he started his career with EY, then joined KPMG, and now for last 10 or 11 years, he's with EY, and he has an exciting story to share. So since we have such an informative and exciting agenda ahead of us, so I will not waste any more time introducing, and I'll just hand over microphone to Taimur. But because I know a lot of questions will be coming on where we can access those previous recordings, so I'm just pasting a link for your reference. So you can, through that link, which we actually circulated yesterday, you'll be able to access all previous recordings of 2 Week Too Strong. Now, without further ado, handing over mic to Taimur. Over to you, Taimur. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Rashid. And I would like to, I'm very grateful to Asim because I know Asim has had a very busy last few weeks. He was very kind enough to actually, when we requested him to partner with us in development of our student base, he accepted it, and we had discussions on it of how to take it further even. We have found EY to be a very responsive partner. I manage employers' Dan landscape for the South region, and we've got a number of employees. But I can say that Asim's team, be it Nosheen, be it Zaid, the entire EY team has been fantastic. The student journey has been fantastic, and thank you very much, Asim, for taking out our time on the stand today. And I think most this session is for all Pakistanis. They would not know what rain means in Karachi. It's like I guess you were stuck in an office when we were discussing this session last night. So it's a very horrible situation, guys. So I think you all should thank Asim for giving out. So my first question to Asim would be, I would like to take your view on the brief history on how Big Four evolved in Pakistan, because everybody talks about Big Four, they want to work in Big Four, but I would appreciate if you could just talk us through the evolution of Big Four in Pakistan.
Well, as you know, I mean, the firms that operated in Pakistan at the time of creation of Pakistan at that time, there were primarily two firms. There was A.F. Ferguson and Co. and there was Ford Rhodes, Robson Morrow. And then out of these firms, other firms also came into being. So we had during the 90s, all the firms that were represented by the global Big Four firms. So if for those of you perhaps before your time, when I started my career, there used to be the Big Eight, which then became Big Six, and then the Big Four. So there have been a lot of mergers that have taken place within that. So there was Price Waterhouse and Coopers and Lybrand, which became Price Waterhouse Coopers. There was Ernst & Winnie and Arthur Young, which merged to become Ernst & Young, which is now EY. Anderson obviously was a tragic event where Anderson collapsed after the Enron affair, and then there were four. So all these Big Four were represented, or in fact, even before that, the firms that were operating in Pakistan, like Khalid Majid, Hussain Rahman, were representing Deloitte. We were representing Arthur Young. At one time, Ford Rhodes, Robson Morrow was representing more than one firm. So it wasn't a full member, but it became correspondent and represented or dealt with clients of various firms. But during the 90s and late 90s, mid 90s, firms started to form closer bonds and became full members of the global Big Four firms. I'm not sure exactly about the others, but Ford Rhodes signed up and became full member firm of Ernst & Young back on 1st of January 1997. So I had joined the firm obviously before that, and I was working with the team that was going through demonstrating our quality and our standards and structures to EY before we were awarded full membership. So similarly, other firms have also been representative firms or affiliate firms, which then converted into full membership status. And at this point in time, you've got the Big Four represented by Ferguson's EY Ford Rhodes, Yusuf Adil representing Deloitte, and Tasir Hadi, KPMG Tasir Hadi. And of course, you've got, even after the Big Four, there are good firms like Grant Thornton is represented by Anjum Asim, so it's GT, as well as BDO. So, they follow through number 5 and 6 and are well recognized internationally as well.
Thank you very much for giving us insight on how Big Four, the evolution of Big Four happened in Pakistan. Now, the big question is that everybody wants to join Big Four. It is because of the opportunities that Big Four has to offer. So, can you actually update us on what opportunities Big Four present, and also on how people have developed their careers globally? So, if you could link the two questions together. Thank you.
Right. So if you recall, there was a time when there was a substantial number of ACCAs being recruited by our firm. We still do recruit a lot of ACCAs as well as ICAP trainees and into our folds. But ever since the ICAP restriction came in, so there is a slight focus more on the ICAP side, ICAP trainees, particularly towards the audit business. But audit is about 30% of our services. If you really look at it from a revenue perspective, from a headcount perspective, it's probably closer to 50%. But the other businesses have grown substantially. Right now, the largest service line for the firm is the taxation service, where Zad works, and Zad has been one of the key contributors to the growth in tax business. Where he looks after global compliance and reporting, or a section of that that deals with accounting services, outsourcing, and Zed will be able to talk more about that. So tax is a business line which has got a lot of opportunities. It is fast growing. Pakistan is strategically placed, to support and to provide back office support as well as resource support to a lot of Middle Eastern countries who are now getting on the tax bandwagon. If you're, Middle East never had taxation before, but with the economic scenario changing, with the reliance on oil reducing, that situation is changing fast, and tax laws are being enacted in many Middle Eastern countries, which increases the demand for professional accountants specializing in taxation. And it also positions us as a Pakistani firm and Pakistani professionals to support the businesses there, our offices in various locations, and also provides career opportunities for people that specialize in tax services. Audit, of course, is not just audit anymore. There's a lot of technology that comes into audit. The way audit used to be managed, where you sent a dozen or so young trainees to just sit at an office location, has changed, and it has changed significantly during the COVID period. There's a lot of automation. Work from home has been made possible. We're not spending any more days waiting for clients to give time and information to the audit teams. A lot of these things are being done remotely through use of technology. And a lot of the audit processes are now being executed using data analytics tool, using even robotics. So little audit bots are being created that collect information such as bank circulars, third-party confirmation from creditors and debtors, and automating the entire process of collecting that data and providing a summarized version of that to the audit team, which was a laborious process that was being executed by people. So audit has become interesting, and within the larger assurance business, there are opportunities in financial accounting advisory services, which is basically and I'm talking from the point of view of the services as they're structured in our organization. FAS, Financial Accounting Advisory Services, is supporting the finance function in automation, in process improvement, and in providing more useful analytical information for the finance team to make the right business decisions and to improve the operating process. Similarly, we've got the forensics team that looks at investigations and dispute resolutions. These are also assurance services where people can specialize. So apart from these two traditional services, the assurance business and the tax business, consulting has grown significantly over the last 4 or 5 years, and technology consulting is a very big component of that. If you're following what's happening at EY, our next wave strategy has resulted in our advisory services being renamed as consulting, and really being divided into business consulting and technology consulting, with technology becoming a very important feature of the services. 3 years ago, well, almost 4 years ago, we launched our SAP advisory business, which is now really about a third of the revenues of our consulting division, with specialists with accounting background and technology background. It's being headed by an accountant from a qualification perspective, but a person who spent the last, almost 30 years of his career in the SAP arena. And we bring in IT specialists, people that have done accounting qualifications, but opted to specialize in the technology space and gotten additional qualifications. And they're working in that team. Similarly, with regard to other services, that includes cyber security and IT risk advisory services. Again, I think opportunities there for professional accountants to specialize in IT risk advisory, getting additional qualifications or certifications, whether it's from ACC or other bodies such as ISACA, to specialize in those fields, because IT risks become very important as the world automates and processes are automated, and the age of internet really takes over all industries. Cybersecurity becoming again a very specialized feature of our consulting business. And then of course you've got the risk advisory business, where you are looking at internal controls within organizations, within government and public sector, and developing entire governance frameworks, risk management frameworks, and risk monitoring and evaluation frameworks. And that works across really all sectors, and again creates a lot of opportunities, jobs, and a lot of ACCAs in our organization have come out through our risk advisory business and gone to places all over the world. And apart from risk, the other area where the work is really exciting is the business transformation arena, where there is a greater emphasis of our consulting team, where we're looking at how businesses can be transformed using technology, using strategy, and working with our strategy and transactions team to implement the strategies that have been developed for organizations by looking at their HR structures and operations, looking at their business processes, and looking at the team structuring and the automation. So, fairly interesting options as far as consulting is concerned. I personally come from a transaction advisory background. Again, I've spent most of my career within the transaction advisory space. Just give me 1 minute, I'll switch on the batteries. Running, sorry. So within transaction advisory, we started with the typical extension of the audit services by looking at due diligence services when we're looking at acquiring or selling a business. And I'm going into a bit of background so that the students get some idea of what is the kind of work that is done, and they can really think about the career options that they want to pursue, because the professional services firm give you this variety of options during your training period as well as afterwards. And so within transaction advisory, the focus initially was valuations, business valuations, and transaction diligence, where if you are going to acquire a company or if you're preparing to sell your business, you want to do a complete review of the business operations, the quality of the earnings, the quality of the assets, and identifying factors that would impact the valuation of business, and factors that should be considered when you're entering into a sale and purchase agreement with an entity. Again, that was how we started to evolve. But now the bulk of the business is not just transaction diligence. Of course, that remains a core. The valuations extended on to business modeling, and the business modeling extended into providing strategic advice as far as businesses are concerned, and helping them to model their business plans, not just looking at a simple cash flow, but also looking at the key business drivers and how they would impact the business going forward. And a lot of people that again graduate and move out of our firm have made illustrious careers using their basic skills on business modeling and valuations, and going into specialized areas such as real estate advisory, infrastructure advisory, and again, infrastructure is a space where I believe that we took a lead back, almost 13 years ago, and started advising government on how they can develop their infrastructure projects using private sector funds and private sector management, which is now called, well, it's always been called public-private partnership, and then advising both the private sector and the government, depending on whom we're representing, in developing the transaction, in structuring the transaction, in executing the transaction, which means actually selecting a private party for the development of the public infrastructure project, and then arranging financing for these infrastructure projects. M&A advisory is again another extension and part of the business. Here we've got a lot of people that have investment banking backgrounds, they've got accounting backgrounds, and just in transaction advisory before. I think after Zaid joined, Zaid, I think you were there when Shahzad Jamal was there, and he was very much tipped to get to the partner level. At that time, we hadn't developed appropriate structures within the organization. Of course, as you know, we're a firm of chartered accountants, so we can't make ACCA's partners, but we have a position of principal, which is, while not a partner, but equivalent in terms of responsibility and reward as any partner would have. And that really is the end destination for anybody trying to get really to the top positions within the organization. So over time, our organization has seen the importance of giving people that have dedicated themselves, that have high skills, the ability to develop business relationships, to be a stakeholder within the business and have a promising career. But apart from partners and principals, we've got executive director positions and director positions. These are again people that are leading their own business units, that have their own team, and effectively are measured just like a partner is in terms of their performance, looking at how they develop business, how they manage people, how they manage quality and risk, and how efficient their business operations are. So, sorry, it was a long monologue, but just to give you an idea on the breadth of services that are being offered by professional firms and the areas where people can consider developing their careers.
Yeah, I think that was very necessary because we have an audience of students, so they should know that there is a breadth of experiences that they can get from EY, and I think that answer sums it up beautifully, because most of the people assume that it's just about assurance business, and audit is a very important part of any firm. But there are so many things which are happening. I would like to now bring in Zaid also into the conversation, and I would like him to actually talk us through his journey within EY. And to the audience, I would like to mention Zaid is the first ACCA member who was elevated to the senior director role in Big Four. Now we have got plenty of members, ACCA members, who are now in the executive directors and other positions. But proud moment for ACCA that we have Zaid with us. Zaid, can you just elaborate a bit about on your career path within EY?
Yeah, thank you, Taimur and ACCA for having me here today. I will continue where Asim left this conversation or topic. So when I joined EY, which was about 16 years ago, as a trainee, we had only two options at that time. Either we go into the audit service line or into the tax service line. And these were the only two places. As a firm, we only knew that if you're joining a firm, then we'll be either going into the audit business or the tax business. And with time, as I have been in the firm, the other service lines or the other career options have developed and opened up. So now, as Asim mentioned, it's not just when you talk about firms or when you look in, when you plan in joining a firm or EY, it's not just audit or taxation which you can join. There are plenty of other service lines. There's plenty of other career options that you can go into and you can specialize with. Consultancy is huge now with quite a lot of sub business units, areas of expertise that you can go into. Within tax, we've got advisory, we've got the business process outsourcing, which is what I look at. And then we've got international tax consultancy, local tax consultancy, transfer pricing, all of these little business units that have developed over the period of time and during the last 10 to 12 years. And now we've got all these students coming in and joining these and becoming experts in these little areas that have been developed over the years. My like you guys mentioned, I joined EY in 2004 as an audit trainee, completed my articles in the audit service line, and then I moved to abroad for a couple of years, came back and joined EY again in the service line, which is now called accounting, compliance, and reporting. This is basically a business process outsourcing or managed services, what is now being evolved into. Um, it's been a great experience actually. I have been focused, determined to stay in the firm. Believe me, I've told this on many forums, and a lot of people within ACCA would have heard this before from me. At every point in my career, at every stage, I have been discouraged and told that there is no growth or career within the firm for somebody coming from my background, from an ACCA, except for the leadership within EY. They have always told me that if you meet the goals, if you meet the targets, if you are determined and focused, there will always be a career growth. So even when I started and I was doing my articles, there was a lot of people who told me that there is no scope or career within the firm. So as soon as I finish my articles, I should move into industry. Then when I came back and joined as a manager, I was told that this is the final step within the firm, and there will be no promotion or growth. Alhamdulillah, with time and hard work, I moved to the different levels of managers and then senior manager. Then I moved to the director role, where I started leading the business unit. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my apologies. Just to actually update the audience, there are a lot of firms which have now developed a career path are following EY, and now there are people who are progressing in Big Four as well. A good and even corporates. A good example of it is a colleague of yours, K. Electric, Absar. Now he's a first director from ACCA, ACCA member. So things are moving ahead, and it's a good time to be a part of ACCA fraternity. I'm so sorry. I had to just to interject, just to tell the students. Yeah.
Yes. So the idea is, Temu, what I'm trying to tell you is that there is a misconception that there are limitations on career growth or opportunities when you've got an ACCA qualification. That is not true. We've got Along with me, we've got two other ACCA members who are at the moment leading different business units within the tax service line. So we've got another colleague of mine who's leading the international tax advisory and international tax transaction. He's leading that business unit for EY, and then we've got another colleague of mine who's leading the back office tax support services for the Middle East. That is also being led by an ACCA. So there is a lot of opportunities and growth and possibilities. There is no, if you feel that being an ACCA, you will be treated differently within the firm. That is not true. That has never been the case. And at least in my experience, that has never been the case. There was obviously when you join a big four, you have to remember it's going to be a cutthroat competition. It's not going to be easy. There is a lot of people who want to join in. Every year for few hundred positions, we get thousands of applications, and obviously only the very best get selected within the big four. And within those who've been selected also, it has to be a very cutthroat competition. You have to perform exceptionally well to move forward. It's not going to be easy for anyone. It's not easy for anyone to come to a partner or an equal level position, whether it's firm or industry. If you want to become a CEO, CFO, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard work. You have to put the number of years required. You can't jump positions or number of years. You can't skip. You need to get that kind of an experience before you look at achieving a partner or a partner equivalent position in a firm or elsewhere in the industry. So for all the students who are there, please keep this in mind when you're coming into a big four. It's not going to be an easy journey. It's going to be hard work, focus, determination. All of these things are required. There is a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of career paths for you guys within the firm. But the key is that you stay focused and you work hard.
Thank you very much, Zahir. Now, coming back to our conversation with Asim. Asim, I would like to know what expectations or competencies or qualities a firm like EY is looking for when hiring, because it's very important for these students to know. अब ये पूरे पाकिस्तान के सारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं, तो अगर वो उनकी जो हायरिंग के लिए EY में उनकी अगर एस्पिरेशन है, so what skills should they develop so that they could be on top of the tree जब वो हायरिंग की जो अब स्कीम स्टार्ट होती है, they could make most of it.
Okay, I think one of the obviously when you're recruiting fresh graduates or freshly qualified accountants, I think one of the key features is going to be your academic track record. So how many attempts you've taken to pass the papers, how you've done in those papers. So yes, of course, your academics is the first level of screening that actually takes place. We also then look at your background in terms of the quality of your education, and once that screening is done, we shortlist candidates for interviews. What are generally the things that one would want to have in a team member? You want them to be competent, you want them to be aware of the technical concepts, and therefore we prefer to hire people that have passed all the stages of their examinations before they join in, so that they have completed their education side and will be focused on getting the work experience, and they're starting off with the full technical knowledge and are equipped with those technical skills to be able to apply them to their work. These are question or your interview process asks you questions about some of these technical aspects. But during the interview, there are two other factors we're trying to see. We're trying to evaluate the confidence level of people, their ability to communicate, their willingness to work. They realize what they're getting into, so some background knowledge as to what is the nature of work, what is their views on that, the desire to learn. So of course, when you're joining a new organization, you're not really fully aware of all the things, and you learn the ropes as you're going along, particularly within the first 6 months. But we have introductory programs, where you're introduced to how things work in an office and so on and so forth. So you're made aware of those. But really, typically, your academics, your attitude, your desire to work hard. We very quickly assess, your teaming capabilities, how you work with people, because I think that is a very important feature, and it is part of our values. And integrity and ethics. So if you're getting into this profession, in fact, if you're getting into any profession, one of the most important qualities that you need to possess is integrity and your ethical values. So these lay the foundation for what you would become as a professional and as a successful professional in your career. So we try to gauge all of these qualities during the interview process, and this is a continuous evaluation process. So every 3 months, based on feedback, we're evaluating all our people. We're trying to have them connect with the people that they report to, so that they're getting briefing on how they're performing and how they can continue to improve in all of these areas as they progress through the organization.
That's fantastic. This part is now clear that बच्चों को अब I think पता चल जाएगा कि how to उनको EY में किस तरह से how to get into an firm like EY. But my question to you, follow-up question to you would be the career paths in the firm. So you have talked about the diversified areas where you could work in EY, and that's fantastic. But if we were to see and oversee how one could actually develop a career path for career progression within the firm, so what are the steps that someone would have to take to get there? And what would the progress look like? Like, how can everyone, the students who are listening to this session, be as successful as that, or even more successful than that?
I'll let Zaid talk about that, but I'll give you briefly the kind of steps. Generally, people when they join in, whether they are fresh graduates, people that have completed CAF or ACCA affiliates, people that have passed all the examinations, you start at the staff assistant level, where you are supervised by your seniors or supervising seniors on engagements. There is training that takes place, so we run you through a training program. Apart from the onboarding program where we tell you what the organization is like, what the firm is like, how it's structured globally, and the importance on how you behave and interact with each other. Your technical skills are also honed, so we introduce you to the methodology before you actually embark on an audit engagement or go onto the field, so that you're aware of how things work. There's a lot of online training, etc., that is also available. So the first 2 years or 2.5 years, you're progressing from staff assistant to staff assistant level, grade 2 level positions, and you're basically learning the basic execution of processes or procedures throughout all services. So for instance, if you join the audit service, you would be assigned a certain area where you would be carrying out executing audit procedures. Your senior would brief you as to how this is done. There will be a program that is provided to you, and you would gain the experience of actually executing audit procedures, identifying your issues, and raising them up to the next level, with your seniors. So over time of 1.5 year or 2 years, you're covering different areas. So you maybe start with fixed assets and cash and bank, moving on to inventories, sales processes, procurement to pay processes, looking at testing of internal controls, how effective these are, and based on the results of that, determining what level of detailed testing is required to be able to successfully form an audit opinion for your team. So there are checks and standards and processes that are there, and you learn that within the first 2 years. Once you've covered all the areas, and depending on how quickly you're able to understand the different areas and really become an expert, you're assigned supervisory role. So you may have a team of 1 or 2 staff assistants that are provided to you, and you look at a group of sections. So you may look at the balance sheet side, or you may look at the entire sections of revenues, for a manufacturing company or even for a banking company. And you have a team that is helping you execute that, because again, you've got time constraints. And as you move further up, you're looking at an entire engagement where you've got a team of people who may have also sub-team members who are actually executing an entire engagement and reporting to the senior manager and partner. And that's where you will learn a lot, and people sometimes move very quickly in these ranks because they're able to demonstrate their ability to learn quickly, understand what the client's business is, because at the end of the day, there are execution processes and there is business processes. And until you actually understand what the business is about, you can't really go into identifying, how to execute the audit process, or, similarly in tax, there would be procedures for, filing of return, preparing computations, and so on and so forth. So you progress, from staff assistant to senior to manager level. You progress over, 3 to 4 years to 5 years, from manager grade 1 to manager grade 3. At grade 3 level, you may be handling more than one engagement. You've got a team running, and you're developing a sense of business development. And at senior manager level, promotion actually demonstrates your ability to manage a small portfolio, to manage business relationships. And as you progress through the senior manager role, your role increasingly becomes somebody who develops business, somebody who develops relationships within the network, outside with the clients, and is seeking to possibly develop new areas of business. Any business grows as you diversify into markets or as you develop and enhance products. And people that make it to partner level are those that have demonstrated the ability to develop business, get that new business up to a certain scale, are managing people and team building effectively. They've got successes, their operations are smooth, and very importantly, they're managing risks of the business very effectively. So the quality and risk management is at the center of any professional service firm, because that's where really is the foundation of the reputation of the firm. These factors enable you, as a complete professional, to be able to qualify for the lead positions in the organization.
Thank you very much, Asim. Another question, role of tech in professional services. We talked about technologies taking over, artificial intelligence, RPA, robotic process automation. How relevant is it for professional services right now?
Very, very relevant. I think, the business world is completely changing. One of my former colleagues, he trained with me. He went on to the industry. He moved on to head internal audit in an investment bank in the Middle East. The last time I met him, he did a 10-month course in data analytics and process automation and digital technology, and has completely changed his career focus. So technology enablement in business operations and translating into really all the financial side of it is really the future. And I think all professional accounting bodies are also increasingly bringing, part of those elements into the curricula, because without that, you can't really progress further. A lot of the mundane processes that were involved in your basic audit, etc., are now being replaced through automation. Use of data analytics is actually increasing really your ability to execute far more transaction review coverage than you could in the past. So a lot of clients would expect that a sampling basis is not good enough. You cover the entire population, and technology enables you to do that to a great extent. So data analytics is becoming a very, very important skill for all professional accountants to have. Your ability to understand how databases work, understand how technology risks work. You may have a situation where you take a dump of general ledger of a client, and the system has certain flaws, and until you are actually able to review the effectiveness of the system and its glitches, you're not going to be able to assess the entire risk associated with the audit. So technology, use of technology, knowledge of technology becomes a very important feature, and it has to be a continuous development learning process as you're going along. Again, the advantage of being in a global organization is access to training. We have a lot of internal learning tools. We've got Udemy. People that have spent at least 3 years with the firm after qualification are eligible for free to a tech MBA program with EY, and it's been globally launched last month. Is very successful, and it's through Hult University that you can go online and have certain requirements for work experiences and technical studies, and you become a tech MBA. So the future is in technology, and you have your base as an accountant, but then you have to evolve yourself to learn use of technology for optimizing yourself and optimizing your career.
Thank you very much, Asim. Another question: how important professional standards and values are for EY? Because the conversation when you started, it seems it's pretty important. But can you actually educate the students? I am assuming that it is on values. You can't have a breach. It is you can't have a conversation that if somebody has compromised on the values part of it, or even professional standards, that is how things are. If I would not accept it, the threshold or acceptance level is zero. So could you elaborate on that?
Our values as a professional accountant are at the core of what you would become as a person. And the success of your career depends on the values with which you live and work. So, at EY, we are constantly reminded of the values with which we need to live by. People with integrity, respect, teaming and inclusion, people who have the courage to lead, and people who always believe in doing the right thing. These are very basic sentences, but if you embed certain set of values in your personality, that will ensure that you always know where the lines are drawn. And sometimes the lines of ethics are very fine, and very easy to cross over. It is very important that a person knows the difference. I think everybody, even a child, knows what's right and what's wrong. And it's the acceptance of what is wrong that makes you an unethical person. And it's only sometimes crossing a very fine line, which you think is okay, that becomes unethical. So ethical behavior, integrity, honesty is at the fundamental element of any profession, not just accounting, any profession. But to be in a professional services firm, the standards expected of the organization as a whole are very high. The bigger you are, the bigger the target you are, and therefore, for us, it's not just good enough to have those values, but it is also very important to be seen to have those values. And that is why we make sure that we are constantly reminding our people of the importance of these values. Every year they sign off on a code of conduct on how they will behave with their people in the organization, how they behave with people outside the organization, how they behave with people that are regulators, how they behave with clients and other stakeholders. So the way you behave and you act, and the importance of integrity and honesty are very important characteristics that any profession must have to be successful.
My last question, and Rashid, I would appreciate if you could then, after this question, if there are any questions, you could signpost them to Asim and Zaid. Asim, I would like to know, there's a lot talk about continuous learning. So in EY, what opportunities, you talked about the MBA program, which is a fantastic program that would be available for all the staff. But what other resources or interventions EY would have for continuous learning support for their employees?
Well, all employees, trainees, as well as other full-time employees, are required to complete a mandatory at least 40 hours a year of continuous professional development. We have very structured programs to ensure update of accounting standards knowledge for everybody involved in the audit business. Similarly, for people in other service lines, there are training and development programs that are rolled out. You have to make sure that you are aware of the latest developments that are taking place. You do that through participation in seminars. You do that through online learning, and we have access to a huge amount of online learning, which includes sector knowledge. So, if you want to understand how the electricity sector and the power sector works, there's a lot of information and data and online courses which tell you about how the sector operates and specialist areas within that. There is, if you want to learn about valuations, there are structured classroom training programs that we take people through, and there are online programs which cover the basic fundamentals which you can learn on your own. There are structured training programs and mandatory learning for people throughout their careers. And continuous professional education ensures that you're abreast with all the changes. Even if a doctor stops learning, you're not abreast with whatever are the latest developments that are taking place in your field. And accounting, like any other field, technology, services, tax laws are constantly changing. So everybody needs to constantly update themselves in their area of specialization and the sectors that they want to focus on. So within our organization, we've got two focus areas of learning. One is the areas of competency, which you need to identify for yourself. So are you a valuations professional? Are you an audit professional? Are you a tax professional? And you've got to make sure that you're constantly learning and updating yourself with all the latest developments within your particular service offering, so that you're able to progress. Otherwise, how would you do your work or even supervise anybody for that matter? And then you've got sector knowledge. So there are different industrial sectors which have their own areas which are complex, where the accounting standards need to be interpreted and understood in a certain way. So sector knowledge becomes important, and people generally tend to specialize in certain sectors. So for instance, we've got a financial services sector focus, where there are people that are trained and developed, and partners that are providing services in the financial services industry. They need to have knowledge of what's happening in the sector, how the accounting standards changes in that impact that particular sector, and how that would be reflected in the financial statements, how that would be reflected in the business decision making as they go forward. So the continuous learning process is necessary. It's essential because you could be obsolete within 2 to 3 years of qualification if you're not keeping up to date with the changes taking place.
That's fantastic. Rashid, can you see if there are any questions?
Sure, Temur. What an insightful conversation it has been. Thank you very much. And we have a lot of questions lined up. We have a question by Farhana. She's asking what are the skills, traits, knowledge you look for in fresh candidates that are applying at EY, and how do you ensure there is merit in place? So what is your induction philosophy when you're hiring an individual who's fresh?
So the fresh hires, for us, it's important to look at, obviously, as I said earlier, the first level of screening is your academics, how well you've performed. There are people that don't pass in the first attempt, which is tolerable. Professional exams are not easy, but you don't want to have people that have taken several attempts to pass the exams. We also look at the scoring wherever that is applicable. So the first level of screening, of course, becomes your academic record. During the interview process, the first stage of interview, of course, is non-technical. It's by our talent team. So they are trying to gauge your personality, your confidence, your ability to communicate, your extracurricular activities obviously demonstrate that. So if somebody is a great sports person, you know that that person has the ability to work as a team. If you're able to demonstrate continuity and growth within an extracurricular activity, it demonstrates your commitment to a particular area. It shows how balanced your personality is. If you're into music or other forms of creativity, it shows your ability to be creative. So all of these elements add up to define what person you are and play a key role in identifying and shortlisting a person. So, just imagine you've got 1,000 applications and, you've got to select maybe 40 out of them. As you screen them for academic, passing out and how many attempts they took to pass out, once you've done that, what are the things that would stand out? These would be things that would distinguish you from somebody else. So your extracurricular activities demonstrate that puts you into the short list. And when you are being interviewed, what are the things? The effectiveness of your communication, how you're answering questions, your confidence as you're talking, and then some insightful questions may be asked as to how you interact and work with people and with teams. How you regard people with different backgrounds. Are you accepting of them? Because inclusion is a very important feature of values. People come with diverse backgrounds, religions, speak different languages at home, have come up from different socioeconomic backgrounds. We want to be able to give opportunities to people to work with us who believe in inclusion and acceptance of people from these different backgrounds based on really their technical abilities and competence and ability to work together.
Sure, perfect. Thanks for that very good answer. We have another question. It's by Man Ying Chen. Man Ying is asking, in a digital world, when the robots are replacing accounting professionals, how you can increase your value if you're very fresh, you're just about to start your career, how you can really future-proof yourself in the accountancy profession. Let's hear it from Zed, since I think he's into this practice. So Zed, what would your advice will be for a young ACCA professional starting their career?
Okay, so my recommendation would be to move from the traditional accounting competencies that we have been acquiring and move towards more analytical competencies, more towards the know-how of using the technology, data analysis, converting reports into meaningful or data into meaningful reports. These are the things that will be expected from future accountants. We will be more of a business partners than somebody who's just doing data crunching going forward. And for that, we need to have those right skills where we can convert the numbers into strategies, into business plans, and learn how we can incorporate all of these into the overall business goals.
A great piece of advice. So I'm merging 3 or 4 questions. So the summary of those questions are, what is the career pathway for experienced professionals, people who started their career from industry, but now they want to join a big four firm, let's say EY. They already have 4 to 5 years experience in their career. So what your advice would be for those candidates who are joining an audit firm after having experience in the industry? So Asim, if you can answer this one for us.
So our increasing focus is towards hiring, when it enters into the trainees team, fully qualified, at least exam passed people. But a huge focus also is there on experienced hires. People that have uh, experience of working in other organizations and now are interested in joining the firm. We often hire people that have worked in research firms and brokerage firms as analysts to join our strategies and transactions team, because that background and ability to do research and analysis is a key starting point for them to get into the advisory piece. A lot of people that we hire in the technology consulting are people that have industry experience, so always looking for them. Similarly, people in business consulting is increasingly looking at people who have worked in industry, who can work on areas such as process improvement, have worked in managerial roles within organizations, or just below managerial roles even within organizations. We are hiring people to really look at new business areas as well. So, sometimes, we get people directly in at senior manager level and director level, and have them start, developing a new business area. So, we've hired people from investment banks, got them into, for instance, infrastructure advisory. We had an MBA from IBA who joined us, as an investment banker from one of the big 5 commercial banks, and he's a principal now within the organization. We also had people who joined in, with experience from banks and other industrial units who've really done very well. So, there is good career path, just like there is, from the trainee level up to the manager. There is, path that is there for experienced hires as well, all the way up to the partnership level.
Perfect. So as you know, EY has made a name for championing things like equality of opportunity, promoting gender diversity. So we have a question from Javeria Mansha. She's asking, kindly guide about those students who take some break between their studies or after this completing their studies due to financial or family issues, especially women, and then they complete their qualification, or then they look at starting their careers, especially. So what Big Four so the Big Four prefer those students who completed their study in 3 or 4 years. This is what she thinks, that at Big Four they prefer candidates who have, like, who've completed the exams within 3 or 4 years time span. What if a girl or a woman or anybody takes a break after completing their qualification, and then they want to start a career let's say after 5 years or 6 years. So what is the policy for such candidates at EY?
What's as first of all, let me just lay out that there is a very high focus for us to increase the gender balance, and as an organization, we're trying to not just create awareness within our organization, but also other organizations for diversity and inclusion and increasing the gender mix. And in the accounting profession, if you really look at it, the ratio of women to men is almost 1:4, probably even lower than that, which is seriously below what it should be, and it's something that we really must work on. To get straight to your point, women that have actually passed their examinations and have then taken a break and have had no experience, I think the good thing for them would be to first contact the talent leaders within the organizations so that their specific situation is known to them. What's also very important is for them to brush up their knowledge. If you passed your exams 5 years ago and there's been a lot of development in those 5 years, then you've got to do something to make sure that you've updated yourself. So that needs to be demonstrated during the interview process, and I'm sure that there will be opportunities that will be created. So if you have any specific desire to get back into the workforce, do get in touch with talent teams within the Big Four firms. We certainly would be happy to give opportunities to such people and bring them back into the workforce.
That's awesome. So as we hear people say, Rolling Stones gather no mass, but I think that is now changing. So we have a question from Heba Mukhtar. She's asking, uh, can if we start a job after completing 9 exams, would you suggest to be loyal and stick to one workplace and make it your family and work for it with only its interest and its betterment to find different? So basically what she's asking is it a good idea to stick to just one company in your career, or it's okay to hop or change jobs very frequently as it's happening these days? So I'll take this answer from Zed, and then I'll come to you, Asim. Zed, what's your opinion on this? Would you stick with EY for life, or you have a different opinion on that?
So I have been with EY for life, but my reason was never because uh, I had planned it this way that I'll be staying with one firm or one organization for life. It is just that I really enjoy working in EY, and like I said previously also, that it has been a wonderful experience. And as I feel, as long as you're enjoying, you feel that there is a learning, there is career growth, there is development, you should stick to an organization where you feel that you feel that you're not learning or you're not growing as a person, as a professional. Then it's time to look for another opportunity where you feel you can attain all of these.
Good. And what's your take on it, Asim?
Yeah, I would echo what Zaid is saying. I think what's important is really the journey and how you enjoy your work. So yes, I mean, financial aspect is something that one does look at, and it's important because you've got to obviously run your you maintain your standard of living, and then that will come as you demonstrate your worth to any organization. So I think if you're jumping around too frequently, you may not really be demonstrating your abilities to the fullest, learning to the fullest, and being able to earn positions of responsibility which enable you to grow as an individual, as a professional. But there is no exact right or wrong answer. It really depends on the initiatives you're willing to take, your objectives in life, and how you want to grow as a professional. But ultimately, you need to be able to give enough time to yourself within an organization to be able to demonstrate what value you can bring. If you're jumping around too frequently, you really may not be able to demonstrate that effectively. But it's understandable that some people might want to experiment a little while they're in their 20s to make sure that they get onto the right platform by the time they're in their 30s, so that they can chart out a good career.
Very good advice. And we have so many other questions, but I'm sure we are running out of time, so we'll not be able to answer all of them right now. But I think before we actually close this session, I'll give both of you an opportunity. If you can list top 5 tips that you would like to share for people who are just about to start their careers. So we'll begin with Zed, and then we'll come to you, Asim. Zed, what are your top 5 tips for young professionals?
Top 5. So very quickly, be focused, work hard, uh, plan out things. Uh, don't think it'll come easy to you. Don't plan on jumping from one position to another. You need to understand and know that everything comes with an experience. It's important that you gain that experience at each step. When you plan or when you look forward on skipping certain steps, you're skipping a part of the journey that will take you to your final destination or towards your final goal. And each step is very, very important. And also trust your managers or supervisors when you are in an organization, especially in a firm. They know what they're doing and how to develop your careers and growth. There's a lot of focus on this in all organizations. No organization wants to lose good talent. So all of them work very hard in retaining hardworking, good resources. So trust them, and I'm very sure they will guide you through.
Perfect. What's your top 5, Asim?
I think when I don't know what I'm not saying this in any specific order, but of course, I think the first thing that you need to be sure of is you maintain your honesty and integrity with yourself, the work, and the people around you. I think, and the clients you work on. So giving the best output possible, making sure that you're working as a team member, as a solid team member that brings value to the work that you're doing, and making sure that you are consistently learning and doing something creative and innovative to demonstrate the value that you add on to your team, and the value that you bring out from your team members. So it's all about learning and co-developing something. So integrity, teaming, very important. Being creative and innovative. So somebody who is thinking of doing things in a better way, in a faster way, in a more collaborative way, in a smarter way, is always going to stand out. Hard work, of course, is a very important element. You've got to be able to make sure that if you're doing 2 persons work, that brings your value much higher than somebody who's just executing 1 person's work. So, and that you do through hard work, through innovation, through creativity, and always see how you can progress within the organization, take greater responsibility and take greater charge, and that will help, I think, your growth. And of course, making sure that you keep yourself technically updated with in your areas of competencies, understand the sectors in which you're working, and make sure that you keep yourself abreast with changes in the accounting standards as well as the technology. So these are very important. Continuous learning is a very important feature.
Amazing. What a great piece of advice from you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Temur. Thank you very much, Asim. Thank you very much, Zed. I think it was a great session. And thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today, this morning. Tomorrow, we'll be back in the afternoon at 2 p.m. We'll be holding a masterclass on local taxation, which will be delivered by Umar Zahir Mir. So we look forward to welcoming you again tomorrow afternoon. And make sure your information on your MyACCA is up to date so you stay connected with your global network. So thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. And thank you very much once again, our guests, Asim, Zed, and Temur. So we are now signing off. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.
Thank you, Rashid.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ACCA.
Asim.
Thank you very much. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.